Welcome to the Grit Behind the Grind podcast, where we dive deep into raw, unfiltered journey of entrepreneurship, fitness, mental health, and building businesses from the ground up. I'm Eric Rao, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, real estate developer, fitness enthusiast, dad, and husband.
And I'm Destinee Rao, co-founder of Grit and Grind Coffee, creative, brand strategist, and above all, mom and wife, bringing you real talk on what it takes to thrive as a business owner, especially when you're doing it alongside your partner. Here, we don't just focus on the wins. We dig deep into the struggles, the sacrifices, and the daily grind that it takes to make it all possible. So tune in, subscribe, and get ready to uncover the grit behind the grind. What's up, guys? So welcome back to another episode of The Grit Behind the Grind. We're going to go over one of the things that we get asked quite often by franchisees or people just interested in our brand, and that is what sets you apart or what makes you different. Recently, Eric and I have gotten the chance to go to a few trade shows, and one of our first ones was actually in Florida. Then we did one in ATL, and it was just the coolest experience. But man, we got asked if you think of a question, we got asked, and it was like, oh, no problem, no pressure, next to another coffee brand, and then a massive coffee brand 2 rows over who has like thousands of locations. So we're going to dive deep into how we answered that question.
It's pretty exciting. You know what I mean? What we get to do is not only tell people about our brand and what sets us apart, but also give people like really cool, thought process or implement things in their business that allows them to set themselves apart from their competitors. And, if you know me and Destinee, we are very big advocates on trying to help other people, paying it forward. Once we get to a certain level in business or whatever that looks like, we love to share that information, not be gatekeepers of it. So this is kind of like giving back to that, but also giving us an opportunity to explain our brand and what sets our brand apart from our competitors.
I remember going to our first trade show, and I was excited, but once you get in there and you set everything up, it's super exciting. But once the floor opens and they have so many people just rush in, I like to think of myself like a natural introvert. And so it was I was like shocked. And Eric was like, yes, you thrive in those kind of environments. You're like completely opposite of me. When you hear opposites attract, Eric and I are almost that ideal as far as personality traits. Now, core values, things like that, we're so aligned, but he is such an extrovert. So he probably got super excited. I was like, took a big old swallow. I was like, I'm fixing to like die for the next 8 hours and have to talk to people. But what I realized when we were in there, it is literally just telling people our story, because we've created a brand that is literally just who we are. So we just talked. And when people were like, what sets you apart from so-and-so? You just eventually, that storyline evolves and it makes you think, what does set me apart? It's never my coffee is the best coffee in the world. Actually, we tell people it's the polar opposite. And I think that's pretty funny.
I think it kind of goes back to what you do often and a lot is exactly, what you tell people. And sometimes when you think about like, how do you pitch your story or how do you talk in front of people, sometimes that gets overwhelming or you get a little bit nervous. But if it's something that you're doing every single day, it's not really hard to talk about it. It almost comes like second nature. You get over those nerves, and then after those nerves kind of settle down. And for me, what I've learned is when you get nervous about talking in front of people and things like that, you just do it. Just go for it. You know what I mean? Because honestly, sometimes like first few minutes might be a little bit awkward, but then you find your flow. And when you find your flow, it's really like something that is second nature and natural. And like, how is it second nature and natural? It's basically something that you do often.
Practice.
You know what I mean? It's not different. It's not out of the ordinary. You find like your groove, something that you done 30 minutes ago, an hour ago.
My pitch was like, if you want to call it my pitch, was like super awkward the first 2 times. But man, half an hour in, please come. I was like, I got this. And not only was I'm so proud of myself because of just who I am, I know internally. I was talking to people, and I was sitting there pulling shots and making iced lattes and hot espressos, multitasking at my finest. I was in the zone, and like, it was a good time. Like, if we have a little clip, we're going to place it in here so you get a little taste of what was going on. But it was so cool to just be in that moment and just realize I have the opportunity to tell thousands of people my story. Whether they want to buy or not, I don't care, but it was just a cool platform and I never realized that I would love it or enjoy that, situation as much as I actually did.
Yeah, you say that you're an introvert, but I mean, like you were thriving at that trade show. And I think that's what it was. It was, you just got in there and started doing and was like, look, hey, I'm here and I know that this is my task and this is what I have to do. And as soon as you like kind of set into that and changed your mindset, dude, I looked at Jordan at one time and I was like, who is this person? You know what I mean? I was like, I need her all the time.
That's
So,
funny.
no, but
So
let's jump in here and talk to people a little bit about what sets us apart from other people. And I think that, you can easily take these principles and apply them to your business and it allow you to be successful.
I'm going to start off with the one thing that everyone kind of sees externally, and it's like a go-to when you walk up to our booth, or if you just know our story in general. The number one thing that sets us apart from most coffee brands is we have a versatile business model. We have multiple options for a business model. You want to dive into that?
We definitely have a variety. And when we always look at investments, business, whatever, before we started the coffee brand, it's like, okay, I don't want just all my eggs in one basket. I want to have multiple avenues, multiple exit plans. And that's what really led us to the mobile coffee game, right? You think about our brand right now. We have storefront, traditional cafes. We have drive-throughs. We have mobile trailers that act as mobile units that deploy into the community and mobile units that stay in a fixed location. And then we have a whole catering coffee cart service. So it's a little bit of everything. And why do we have that? Because each market has their own demand that they need, right? And we meet the market's needs and demands. And at the end of the day, we've figured out this really cool recipe to where we take these mobile units and then we deploy them in communities and we collect the data and get the feedback. And if it is positive feedback, then we invest more capital. We turn that community that we've built in the mobile unit that cost us less money out of pocket, and then we turn that into full-blown cafes and drive-throughs. So we take a small investment and our time and we go deploy it. And then if that is a positive feedback, we invest more capital.
That brings me to our next thing on the top of my list, that when someone's like, what sets you apart from, it's always going to be a versatility in the concepts that we can create. And then it's going to be our stronghold in grassroots marketing, which is exactly what Eric said. We have the ability to literally go into communities and, go to ball games, go to Friday Night Lights, be plugged into the community, not just a standard brick and mortar where they have to come to us. We can go solve problems in the community and, bring awareness to things and show teachers appreciation or healthcare workers. And being so rooted in small town communities is where we thrive because we get to simply be just who we are. We get to connect with people. We are our best versions of ourselves whenever we are serving others. And that's just not Eric and I. That is every single owner that has a grit and grind. We are all the same. If you think it's just me and Eric, no. If you're close to Andalusia and you've been an op, you could feel that with Bridget. If you're in Mississippi and you've ever been to any of Jordan's locations, you feel that. And that is throughout the country. It's the common denominator in every grit and grind that we literally thrive whenever we are at service.
Starting out, we have a diverse bucket of revenue streams, right? We have multiple business models, whether that's mobile, cafe shops. We also have other revenue streams. So we're not dependent on just one revenue stream. And then the diverse business models allows us to have lower capital investments, larger capital investments. And that goes back to like our risk profile, right? So then you take that and then you complement it with us being in the community. Why? Because people buy from you because of who you are. At the end of the day, you've got to get out of your comfort zone. You've got to get into your community. You've got to get where your consumers and your customers are, and you have to meet them because at the end of the day, they are coming to buy from you. That's what sets us apart. Now, there's many companies out there that you can literally just go buy into a company or start a business and then go set up next to your competitors and hope for the best. Good luck with that. That is not a very successful model. At the end of the day, I am going out and I am deploying resources and my time and energy to get known in my community. It does not matter if it's a kid's ball game, the state tournament, the church, the grocery store, wherever I'm going. I am networking. I am getting to know people, and I am letting them know about the product or service or business model that I have for sale.
Yeah. I'm 1000% convinced, I know for a fact, that we were created, the way we were wired was for community, to do life with one another. Why try and do anything by yourself? It's lame for one. You don't get as far as fast. And if you look at Grit Grind, you can tell we've had extreme growth in the last, we're going on 3 years, because of community, because we don't live in a scarcity mindset. We know that we go further, faster together.
And I think for us, and this is a good tool that everybody should be deploying in their business model, and that is playing on the feeling, how you make somebody feel, right? So you can kind of come down and say, look, you could probably say how a product tastes gives somebody a certain feeling, but here's the fact is everybody has a different taste profile. So trying to go all in and please one type of person is not a successful strategy. At the end of the day, what we love to do and how we set ourselves apart is ultimately we put a lot of stock in how we make somebody feel. How do we change lives? At the end of the day, people come into our coffee shops and they are better when they leave. They feel more positive, more alive. They've had more smiles. Yeah. They've had more genuine conversations. So we spend a lot of time and energy training our teams how to have these soft skills to make people's lives enriched. And another thing that I've really learned is whenever you're thinking about how to deploy this or how this is implemented into your business, it starts with you. You have to be that type of person. You have to have peace inside you. You have to genuinely want to affect others in a positive light before you can start training other people or you can have this in your type of business. So what's the message there? Make sure that you start with yourself, right? That person in the mirror. And you want to make sure that at the end of the day, you are becoming a better version of yourself than you were the next day.
Preach it, son. That was good. Mic drop. We're done. All right, guys. See you in the next episode.
It really is something that we pitch. That is, we'll go over our pitch. And then what I love is the opportunity to hear other people and their pitches. And sometimes I'll take a little bit from this person and that person, and then I'll mesh it all together and then I'll make my own. Yep. So we'll definitely hit, and give people the opportunity to hear how we explain it to others on what sets us apart. But at the end of the day, what I've learned, it doesn't matter if it was through personal fitness, education, knowledge, whatever. If I start working on myself and I make myself better, then that is ultimately portrayed through every other aspect of my life.
All right. And then that third thing that we hit them with is going to be our assets. The first is going to be all of that intellectual property that Eric and I have worked. We've got blood, sweat, and tears in that bad boy, but it's going to be compiled into e-learning. We live in the 21st century, guys. The PDFs, there's some big franchises. Once we put ourselves in rooms and we got to sit and cross-examine and be like, so how do you deliver, they're like, printed PDFs, you guys. I'm like, what? Are you serious? We're still doing this? And so we were way ahead. And so not to toot our own horn, but if you go with Grit and Grind, you got all your stuff together. But it's going to be our e-learning, which is super extensive. It's not just one course. It is lots of courses broken down, whether you're an owner, a lead, a barista, everything is going to be digital because that's just the world we live in. And then
our network. So, another thing that we have, we get you plugged in with all of our other owners, and we don't really have absentee owners. We have people that are at all stages of their journey. And basically it's really valuable whenever you're opening up a new coffee shop or a cafe, and you can reach out to not just the corporate team, but the other franchise owner that just opened up 3 months ago. And it's like, hey, I know you just opened up. I'm having this pain point. Like, can you help me guide me through that?
Yeah, and it's fresh on their brain.
Yeah. And then a co-op. I love talking about this one
Hmm.
because I mean, I've spent a lot of time and energy putting myself in the right rooms so we can negotiate the best terms and prices for our brand. So we're going to pay a discounted rate for all of our supplies, coffee beans, syrups, all of those things, even equipment. So if I look at it from a lens where, hey, if you come into my brand and I can get you an ROI faster, what you're going to do is you're going to go open up location 2, 3, 4, right? Because I've not nickel and dimed you. I've ultimately allowed you to have a return on investment faster, and you'll be able to see that. And it's like, okay, this is a good business model. Let's keep doing this.
Yeah. And Eric's being super humble. Like, these are not like discounts or deals that you can just go sign up if you know, are a coffee shop owner and you automatically get wholesale like Sam's. Like, we're talking multiple months, years of relationships, meetings, Zooms, discussing deals to figure out how we can, you know, discount things. Like Eric said, we we could get a small discount on our espresso machines. That's awesome. But of course, he's not going to settle for that. We have the lowest tier that we could possibly get because Eric's put in a lot of work on that back end. So we can then, in return, flow it into our owners. So, like Eric said, they can get a quicker ROI and open that Grit and Grind location 2 and 3 and things like that. So, I
Yeah.
wanted to reiterate on that because I don't think you ever give yourself enough credit for that.
So that's kind of our brand. And when we're talking about the franchise, and honestly, that's been the freshest on our mind because that's where our focus has been. But if we even back up, you know, when we were in the day-to-day operations and coffee shop, you've got to have some things that set you apart, a merch line, a special drink, whatever that is, that they're not able to go get. Every coffee shop has a caramel latte, right? Put a new spin on it. Give it a unique name. Get creative. Like, is your branding setting you apart from the other coffee shops that are right down the road? You got to have a unique factor. But we've all learned that, hey, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter unique factor. It doesn't matter your product. It doesn't matter how good it is. If you are not changing people in a positive way, then all of those other things are not really working to your benefit. Those are added additional add-ons after somebody comes to your location and they buy your product because of how it makes them feel. All right, let us tell you what separates Grit and Grind Coffee against any other business model out there.
Number one is going to be a diverse business model. Number two is going to be our grassroots marketing. And number three is going to be our assets, which are going to consist of e-learning, networking, and our co-op.
Sold. Where do I sign and who do I send my check to?
I'll tell you after. I'll drop it in the chat. But yeah.
Yeah. No, but hey, listen, at the end of the day, hopefully these are some actionable items and just a little bit of what you can take away and make your business model unique and successful. Hopefully this gave somebody a little insight and can help you. That's all me and Destiny really live for. I mean, it's enjoyable to help others. And that's part of this podcast. And we want to continue to add value to other people. And hopefully this is helpful. If it is, please help us by subscribing and liking.
Yep. Sharing with someone, rather they're in the coffee industry, thinking about being in the coffee industry. Hopefully we don't scare them off, or just an entrepreneur, because we've got some good things coming this season. We're going to bring in some interview styles, and some will be coffee shop owners, some will just be entrepreneurs. You definitely do not want to miss it. So until next time, no grit, no pearl.